सहगण रघुनाथान्वितां तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं भजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नामश्रेष्ठं मनमपि शचिपुत्रमत्र स्वरूपं रूपं तस्याकृतमुरुपुरीं माथुरीं गोष्ठवाटिं राधाकुण्डं गिरिवरमहो राधिका माधव प्राप्तो यस्य श्रीगुरुं तं नतोऽस्मि। नमस्ते गुरुदेवाय सर्वसिद्धिप्रदायिने सर्वमंगलरूपाय सर्वानन्दमुदायिने यं प्राव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवो विनेदुस्तं सर्वभूतहृदयं महिमानतोऽस्मि। हे श्री गुरो ज्ञानद दीनबन्धो स्वानन्ददाता करुणैकसिन्धो वृंदावनासीन हितावतार प्रसीद राधा प्रणय प्रचार प्रायस्वो जगन्नाथ गुरो संसार वंदिना दग्धं मां कालदष्टं च त्वामहं शरणं गतः। First of all, offer my millions of obeisances to lotus feet of Asmadya Guru Pad Padma Nitila Preshta Jagat Guru Shri Srimad Bhakti-Vidanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Then also offer obeisance to lotus feet of Trindi Sannyasi Shri Srimad Bhakti-Vidanta Dandi Maharaj, Nam Nishta Santa Shri Aniruddhas Prabhuji, all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who are gathered here. Please accept my humble obeisances. So we are studying a very important book called Srimad Bhagavad-Gita. Sarvopaniषदो गावो दुग्धा गोपाल ननः पार्थो वत्सा सुधीर भोक्ता दुग्धम गीतामृतम महत्. Gita is the essence of all the Vedic scriptures. So Gita assumes a great importance, and that's why we cannot ignore Gita. So verse number 25 in the chapter 3 says, Shakta karmani adviv avidvamso yatha kurvanti bharata kuryat vidvamsam tatha tas chikirishu loka sangraham. Shakta being attached, karmani in prescribed duties, avidvamsaha ignorant, yatha as much as kurvanti they do. Bharata or descendant of Bharat, Kuryata must do, Vidwan the learned, Tatha thus, Asaktaha without attachment, Chikirshu desiring to lead, Loka Sangraham the people each other. As the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to results, similarly the learned may also act, but without attachment, for the sake of leading people on the right path. A person in Krishna consciousness and a person not in Krishna consciousness are differentiated by different desires. A learned, a Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not conducive to development of Krishna consciousness. He may even act exactly like the ignorant person who is too much attached to material activities. But one is engaged in such activities for the satisfaction of his own sense gratification, whereas the other is engaged for the satisfaction of Krishna. Therefore, the Krishna conscious person is required to show the people how to act and how to engage the results of action for the purpose of Krishna consciousness. So here Srila Gurudev's version says, Saktaha karmani advidvamso yatha kurvanti bharata kuryad vidvamso satha saktas chikirishu loka sangraha. Saktaha being attached karmani to their prescribed duties, avidvamsa the ignorant, yatha just as kurvanti perform. Bharata, a sign of Bharata Arjuna, is actually sign means descendant. Actually, it means descendant. Um, so actually, this is descendant. So descendant of Bharat rises. Ignorant people perform their duties with attachment. Those who are wise should also work, but without attachment, desiring to instruct the people in general. Sarartha Varshini. Thus, even a person who is firmly situated on the platform of jnana is duty bound to perform his prescribed work, karma. Shri Krishna concludes this topic with this verse beginning with the word Shakta. Sarartha Varshini Prakashika Vritti. These days, ignorant people perform their prescribed duty with attachment both to the work and its fruit. But one who knows Tattva, fundamental truths, performs their religious duty without attachment. Activities performed by those activities performed by these two type of people appear to be the same, but there is a difference of heaven and hell between them. The distinction lies in their faith. One is attached to the fruit of their karma, while the other is detached. We should not be attached to the result. One should dedicate all the results to Krishna. So this is what Krishna is telling. Karmanye vadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachan. Ate karma phala hetu mato sankastam akarmani. So don't be attached to the result. Verse 26. Na buddhi bhedam janet ajnanam karma sanginam. Yujet sarva karmani vidvan yukta samacharan. No, not buddhi bhedam. Confusion in the intelligence with the instruction to practice jnana and abandon karma. Janayet should create ajnana of the ignorant. Karma sanginam for those attached to fruitive work. Yojayet he should engage. Sarva all karmani actions. Vidvan the learned person and instructor in jnana yuktaha with a composed mind. Samacharan while acting nicely. A person who is learned in the path of spiritual advancement through knowledge should not bewilder the intelligence of ignorant people by instructing them to give up their prescribed duties and engage in the cultivation of jnana. Rather, by properly performing his own actions in a composed and detached state of mind, he should engage such people in their prescribed duties. Sarartha Varshini. O Arjuna, a man of knowledge should not bewilder the ignorant who are attached to their own actions by telling them there is no purpose in performing mundane activities. Become perfect like me by renouncing your prescribed duty and cultivating transcendental knowledge, jnana. Such ignorant people are particularly attached to the performance of their prescribed duty because their hearts are impure. Although you may be perfect, by performing selfless action, you can encourage others to engage in their prescribed duties. You yourself become an ideal example by performing your prescribed duty properly. You could well say to me, in Srimad Bhagavatam, you have said, स्वयं निःश्रेयसं विद्वान् न भक्ति अज्ञाय कर्म हि नराति रोगिणो अपथ्यं वाञ्छतो अपि अभिक्षतः. A good physician does not prescribe a diet that is indigestible, even though the patient may desire it. Similarly, a person knowing the highest welfare does not instruct an ignorant person to engage in his prescribed duty. Thus, you have therefore contradicted your own statements. This is correct, answers Sri Bhagavan. But I gave that instruction in relation to bhakti. When the subject of instruction was bhakti itself, now I am giving the instruction in relation to jnana. So there is no contradiction. Jnana depends on purity of heart, and purity of heart depends on the selfless performance of one's prescribed duty. Bhakti, however, is independently powerful. She does not depend upon purity of heart. If one is able to arouse faith in bhakti, one can disturb the intelligence of a person who is attached to karma, and it is not inappropriate. Those who have developed faith in bhakti have surpassed the need to perform their prescribed duty. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 20th chapter, 9th verse. Tavat karmani kurvita न निर्विद्येत यावता matkatha shravana dauva shraddha yavan jayate. A person should perform his occupational duty as long as he has not developed renunciation or awakened a taste in hearing and reciting topics about me. Furthermore, dharman santajya sarvan maham bhajit sattama. Srimad Bhagavatam 11 Canto 11 chapter 32nd verse. Those who give up all varieties of varnashram and worship me are indeed the most elevated class of saintly persons. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshishyami ma shubha. Completely abandoning all bodily and mental dharma, such as varna and ashrama, fully surrender to me alone. Tattva sadharmam charanambujam harer bhajan apakvo atha apatet atha patet tato yati. A person who gives up his prescribed duties to engage in the service of Sri Hari's lotus feet can never be unsuccessful, even if he falls down while in the immature stage. One should deliberate upon all these statements. Sarartha Vashini Prakashika Vriti. The purpose of performing karma, one's prescribed duty, is to attain that knowledge, jnana, which leads to bhakti. Those who do not know these facts are ignorant, and those who are attached to their prescribed duty because of this ignorance are called karma sangi. A jnani should only engage such ignorant persons in the duties prescribed for them in scripture, because if their intelligence is bewildered, they will lose faith in the necessity of performing their duty. Under such circumstances, even jnana will not be able to manifest in their hearts, and thus they will deviate the paths of performing their duty, karma, and seeking knowledge, jnana. The same does not apply to giving instructions on bhakti. However, because according to scriptures, instructions on bhakti are auspicious for everyone, under all circumstances. Therefore, by giving instructions on bhakti, a preacher of bhakti will make everyone perfect. Putramsha shishyamsha nrupo gururva malloga kamo madanagrahartha itham vimalyo anushishad atadnyan न योजयेत् कर्मसु कर्ममूढान् कम योजयन् मनुजो अर्थं लभेत निपातेन अष्टदृशं हि गर्ते. Rishabdev said, Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.15. Rishabdev said, only my abode and my mercy are worth praying for. Instructions on devotion to me should be given by fathers to their sons, teachers to their disciples, and kings to their subjects. One should not become angry with a person who receives instructions but does not follow them. Even though who are ignorant of knowledge of fundamental spiritual truths, tattva jnana, and bewildered about their proper duties, should not be engaged in karma. What goal will be achieved by engaging a person blinded by intelligence into activities, thus throwing him further into the dark veil of this material world? Nothing will be achieved. While commenting on this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Sridhar Swami says, if someone instructs others about engaging in karma instead of giving instruction on bhakti, he incurs sin. According to Srila Vishwanath Thakur, the present verse, Yojet Sarva Karmani, is not for those who are preaching the message of bhakti, it is to be considered by those who give instructions on jnana. Verse 27, Prakriti kriyamani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankari mudhatma kartaham itu manyate. No buddhi vedam janayet ajnanam karma sangina joshet sarva karmani vidvan yukta samacharan na buddhi vedam, na not buddhi vedam, disruption of intelligence, janayet, he should cause ajnanam, of the foolish, karma sangina, who are attached to fruitive work, Joshet, he should tell. Sarva, all. Karmani, work. Vidwan, a learned person. Yukta, engaged. Samacharan, practicing. Let not the wise disrupt the minds of the ignorant who are attached to fleeting action. They should not be encouraged to refrain from work, but to engage in work in the spirit of devotion. Vedesha sarver ahameva vidya. That is the end of all Vedic rituals. all all rituals, all performance of sacrifices, and everything that is put into the Vedas, including all directions for material activities, are meant for understanding Krishna, who is the ultimate goal of life. But because the conditioned souls do not know anything beyond sense gratification, they study the Vedas to that end. Through sense regulations, however, one is gradually elevated to Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a realized soul in Krishna consciousness should not disturb others in their activities or understanding, but he should act by showing how the results of all work can be dedicated to the service of Krishna. The learned Krishna conscious person may act in such a way that the ignorant person working for sense gratification may learn how to act and how to behave. Although the ignorant man is not to be disturbed in his activities, still a slightly developed Krishna conscious person may directly be engaged in the service of the Lord without waiting for other Vedic formulas. For this fortunate man, there is no need to follow the Vedic rituals. Because direct Krishna consciousness, because in direct Krishna consciousness, one can have all the results simply by following the prescribed duties of a particular person. प्रकृते क्रियमाणानि गुणैः कर्माणि सर्वशः अहंकार विमूढ़ात्मा कीर्ताहम इति मन्यते. Prakriti of material nature, kriyamanani being done, gunahi by the modes, karmani activities, sarvashaha all kinds of, ahankara vimudha bewildered by false ego, atma the spirit soul, karta doer, aham I, iti thus, manyate he thinks. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are in actually carried out by nature. Two persons, one in Krishna consciousness and the other in material consciousness, working on the same level may appear to be working on the same platform, but there is a wide gulf of difference in their respective positions. The person in material consciousness is convinced by a false ego that he is the doer of everything. He does not know that the mechanism of body is produced by material nature, which works under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. The materialistic person has no knowledge that ultimately he is under the control of Krishna. The person in false ego takes all credit for doing everything independently, and that is the symptom of his nations. He does not know that this gross and subtle body is a creation of material nature under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such, his body and mental activities should be engaged in the service of Krishna. Krishna consciousness. The ignorant man forgets that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Rishikesh, or the master of the senses of the material body. For due to his long misuse of the senses in sense gratification, he is factually bewildered by the false ego, which makes him forget his eternal relationship with Krishna. प्रकृते क्रियमाणानि गुणैः कर्माणि सर्वशा अहंकार विमूढ़ात्मा कर्तहम इति मन्यते. Prakriti of material nature, क्रियमाणानि are performed gunahi by the three binding forces, karmani activities, sarvasha in every respect, ahankara vimudhatma a person bewildered by false ego, karta the doer, aham I, iti thus, manyate things. All aspects of material activity are performed by the three binding forces of material nature. But a person whose intelligence is bewildered by false ego thinks himself to be the doer. If a learned man also has to perform his prescribed duty, what is the difference between his work and the work of an ignorant man? This doubt is being addressed. The difference is shown in two verses, beginning with the present one. Prakriti Kriyamana. Ignorant people believe that they themselves perform any activity karma. But in reality, it is performed by the senses which are impelled by the modes of material nature. Verse 28. Tattavittu mahabaho guna karma vibhagayo guna guneshu vartanta iti matva sajjate. Tattavit, a knower of the science. Two, however, mahabaho, O mighty armed one, guna karma, between the binding forces of material nature and the laws of karma, vibhagayo, of the distinctions, guna, the senses, guneshu, in their sense objects, like form, etc. Vartante, are engaged. Iti, that. Matva, considering. Na sajjate, does not become attached. O mighty armed Arjuna, one who knows that the soul is aloof from the three binding forces of material nature, as well as from the law of karma, does not falsely identify himself as the doer. This is because he understands that the senses are engaged in their respective sense objects and are aloof from them. Sarartha Varshini. One who knows the distinctive characteristics of the modes of material nature, guna, and action, karma, is called tattva. One knows the truth. The modes are divided into three categories: goodness, sattva; passion, rajas; ignorance, tamas. Action, karma, is divided into four categories: activities that are influenced by these modes. Number two, the demigods. Number three, the various prominent senses and the objects of the senses. One who is Tattvavid knows the truth about both guna and karma. The demigods or the gunas are present in the respective senses, such as sight, and also in the desired sense objects, such as form. However, a learned person knows that he is not the modes of nature nor the effect or action of any mode. He has nothing to do with the modes of their activities. Understanding this, a wise and learned person does not become attached to them. तत्त्ववित्तु महाभावो गुणकर्मविभागयो गुणगुणेषु वर्तन्त इति मत्वा न सज्जते. Tattvavid, the knower of the absolute truth too, but Mahabhav, O mighty Amba, guna karma, of works under material influence. Vibhagayo, differences. Gunaha, senses. Guneshu, in sense gratification. Vartante, are being engaged. Iti, thus. Matva, thinking. Na, never. Sajjate, becomes attached. One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, O mighty armed, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the differences between work in devotion and work for fruitive results. The the knower of absolute truth is convinced of his awkward position in material association. He knows that he is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, and that his position should not be in material creation. He knows his real identity as part and parcel of Supreme Lord, whose eternal bliss and knowledge. And he realizes that somehow or other is entrapped in the material conception of life. In his pure state of existence, he is meant to dovetail his activities in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. He therefore engages himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness and becomes naturally attached to the activities of the material senses, which are all circumstantial and temporary. He knows that his material condition of life is under the supreme control of the Lord. Consequently, he is not disturbed by all kinds of material reactions, which he considers to be the mercy of the Lord. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, one who knows the absolute truth in three different features, namely Brahma, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is called Tattvavid. For he knows also his own factual position in relationship with the Supreme. Prakritir sammudha sajjante guna karmasu tan akrishna vido manna krishna vinna vichadayet. Prakriti of material nature, guna by the modes, sammudha befooled by material identification. Sajjante, they become engaged. Guna karmasu in material activities. Tan, those. Akrishna vidaha, persons with a poor fund of knowledge. Mandan, lazy to understand self-realization. Krishnavid, one who is in factual knowledge. No, not vichalayet, should try to agitate. Bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached. But the wise should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior to their the performance lack of knowledge. Persons who are unknowledgeable falsely identify with gross material consciousness and are full of material designations. This body is a gift of the material nature, and one who is too much attached to the bodily consciousness is called mandan, or the crazy person, without understanding a spirit soul. Ignorant men think of the body as a self. Bodily connections with others are accepted as kinsmanship, and the land in which the body is obtained is the object of worship, and the formalities of religious rituals are considered ends in themselves. Social work, nationalism, and altruism are some of the activities for such materially designated persons. Under the spell of such designations, they are always busy in the material field. For them, spiritual realization is a myth, and so they are not interested. Such bewildered persons may even be engaged in such primary moral principles of life as non-violence and similar materially benevolent work. Those who are, however, enlightened in spiritual life should not try to agitate such materially engrossed persons. Better to prosecute one's own spiritual activities silently. Men who are ignorant cannot appreciate activities in Krishna consciousness. And therefore, Lord Krishna advises us not to disturb them and simply waste valuable time. But the devotees of the Lord are more kind than the Lord because they understand the purpose of the Lord. Consequently, they undertake all kinds of risk, even to the point of approaching ignorant men. Try to engage them in the acts of Krishna consciousness, which are absolutely necessary for the human being. प्रकृते गुणसम्मूढा सज्जन्ते गुणकर्मसु तान् अकृष्णविदो मन्दान् कृष्णविन्ना विचालयेत्. Prakriti of material nature, guna by the modes, sammudha bewildered, sajjante become attached, guna karmasu in the sense objects, tan those, akrishna vidaha of incomplete knowledge, mandan less intelligent persons, krishna vid one who is in complete knowledge, na vichalet, should not agitate. Those bewildered by the three binding modes of nature become attached to sense objects. Those whose knowledge is complete should not unsettle such less intelligent persons whose knowledge is incomplete. One may raise a question: if all living entities, jivas, are distinct from the modes and have no relationship with them and their activities, then why are they seem to be attached to sense objects? In order to reconcile this, Shri Krishna answers with this verse beginning with Prakriti. They become bewildered by the modes of nature. They are absorbed in. In other words, they become deluded because of their absorption in the modes. Just as a man haunted by a ghost considers himself to be a ghost. So the jivas absorbed in the modes identify those very modes. Thus influenced by the effect of those modes, they become attached to sense objects. A man of complete knowledge should not unsettle those whose knowledge is incomplete. This means that he should not try to force these understandings on ignorant persons by saying, you are a living entity distinct from the modes. You are not the modes. In the same way, a person who is haunted by a ghost will not will never understand that he is actually not a ghost but a human being. Even if he is told hundreds of times, his conviction can only be removed by the medicine of mantras. Verse 30. मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि संन्यासाध्यात्मचेतसा निराशीर्य निराशीर्निर्मनो निर्ममो भूत्वा युद्धस्व विगतज्वरा. Maya unto me, sarvani all, dharmani activities, sanyama giving up completely, adhyatma chetasa with the mind fixed in the self, nirashi free from desire, nirmamaha without a sense of possessiveness, bhutva being yuddhasva fight, vigate jvaraha vigata jvara without the fever of lamentation. With your mind fixed in the self, offering all your activities to me, and being free from desire, possessiveness, and lamentation, fight. Therefore, Arjuna, fight with your mind fixed in the self, offering all your actions unto me, and being free from all material hopes and desires. Do not let your mind dwell on the sense objects and give up any sense of possessiveness of them. Sarartha Varshini Prakashika Buddhi. Shri Bhagavan makes Arjuna the instrument through which he instructs common men to perform their prescribed karma, free from the false ego of being the doer and free from the desire for the fruits of their actions. Here, the word karma refers to all types of karma, both Laukik and mundane. In Vedic, as prescribed in the Vedas, Nirmamaha indicates that one should not perform action without any sense of possessiveness for sense objects such as the body, house, son, wife, and brother. Here, the order to fight means that one should engage in prescribed action. मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि सन्न्यास्याध्यात्मचेतसा निराशीर् निर्ममो बुद्ध्वा युद्धस्व विगतज्वरा. मयि unto me sarvani all sorts of karmani activities sannyasya giving up completely adhyatma with full knowledge of the self chetasa by consciousness nirashi without desire for profit nirmamaha without ownership bhutva so being yuddhasva fight vigata jvara without being lethargic. Therefore, Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me with mind intent on me and without desire for gain and free from egoism and lethargy, fight. This verse clearly indicates the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord instructs that one has to become fully Krishna conscious to discharge duties as if in military discipline. Such an injunction may make things a little difficult. Nevertheless, duties must be carried out with dependence on Krishna, because that is the constitutional position of the living entity. The living entity cannot be happy independent of the cooperation of the Supreme Lord, because the eternal constitutional position of the living entity is to become subordinate to the desire of the Lord. Arjuna was therefore ordered by Sri Krishna to fight as if the Lord were his military commander. One has to sacrifice everything for the goodwill of the Supreme Lord and at the same time discharge prescribed duties without claiming proprietorship. Arjuna did not have to consider the order of the Lord, he had only to execute his order. The Supreme Lord is the soul of all souls. Therefore, one who depends solely and wholly on the Supreme Soul without personal consideration, or in other words, one who is fully Krishna conscious, is called Adhyatma Chitasa. Nirashi means that one has to act on the order of the Master. Nor should one ever expect fruitive results. The cashier may count millions of dollars for his employer, but he does not claim a cent for himself. Similarly, one has to realize that nothing in the world belongs to any individual person, but that everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. That is the real purport of Mai or unto me. And when one acts in such consciousness, secondly, does not claim proprietorship over anything. The consciousness is called Nirmama or nothing is mine. And if there is any reluctance to execute such stern order, which is without consideration of so-called kinsmen in the absolute relationship, that reluctance should be thrown off. In this way, one may become vikatachvara or without feverish. Um, Everyone, according to his quality and position, has a particular type of work to discharge, and all such duties may be discharged in Krishna consciousness, as described above. That will lead one to the path of liberation. Hare Krishna. We'll stop here today. Hare Krishna. And we'll be beginning from the verse number 3.31. Next time, the same verse, 3.31. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Anchakalpatarvesha kripa sindhu Patkanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Please give Jayadhani, Prabhu, Anangman Prabhu. If anyone has any questions, you can ask.
श्री गुरु
Hare Krishna.
गौरंग गिरिधारी विनोद बिहारी जी की जय। ओम विष्णु पार स्तोत्र शत श्रीमद भक्ति विजय विष्णु देव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। ओम विष्णु पार स्तोत्र श्रीमद भक्ति विजय गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नितिले प्रविष्णु विष्णु पार स्तोत्र श्रीमद भक्ति विजय नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नितिले प्रविष्णु
Jai,
विष्णु पार श्रीमद भक्ति विजय वामन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नितिले प्रविष्णु विष्णु पार स्तोत्र शत श्रीमद भक्ति विजय स्वामी महाराज की जय। नितिले
Jai,
प्रविष्णु अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमद भक्ति प्रज्ञान केतु गोस्वामी महाराज की
Jai,
जय।
Jai, Jai,
श्री शिला भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय।
Jai, Jai,
नित्य परम भगवत पार श्री गौर किशोर दास बाबा जी महाराज की जय। नितिले
Jai,
प्रविष्ट
Jai,
सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नितिले प्रविष्ट
Jai Ho,
वैष्णव श्री जगन्नाथ महाराज की जय। श्री गौड़िया
Jai,
वेदांत
Jai,
आचार्य विजय भूषण प्रभु की जय।
Jai,
श्रीला विष्णु ठाकुर की जय। श्रीला नरोत्तम
Jai Ho,
श्रीवास की जय। श्रीला कृष्ण रस कविराज गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री
Jai,
रूप सगुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल सगुनाथ सत गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप
Jai, Jai,
दामोदर मनंदर श्री गौर प्रसाद वृंद की जय। नाम
Jai,
आचार्य
Jai,
श्री की जय। प्रेम सत्य चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिव सत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री अंतर
Jai, Jai,
द्वीप सीमंत द्वीप गोद्रुम द्वीप मध्य द्वीप कोला द्वीप ऋतु द्वीप जानु द्वीप मोद द्वीप द्वीप रुदति पद्मकार श्री नवद्वीप धाम की जय। श्री श्री
Jai,
राधा
Jai,
कृष्ण गो गोवर्धन द्वादश वनत्मकार श्री व्रज मंडल की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम
Jai,
कुंड
Jai,
गंग श्रीमती वृंद देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमास योग माया की जय। श्री गोपीश्वर महादेव की जय, श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा सुदर्शन चक्र की जय, श्री क्षेत्र मंदिर की जय,
जय
सर्व मास्टरकारी श्री नरसिंहदेव की जय, परिवार श्री
जय
प्रहलाद की जय, चार धाम की जय, चार संप्रदाय की जय, चार आचार्य की जय,
जय
अगम
जय
मत
जय
श्री चैतन्य मात की जय, श्री केशव जी गौरी मात ओ तत्सत मत समाज
जय
की
जय
जय, भागवतम की जय, श्री हरिनाम
जय
संकीर्तन अनंत कोटि वैष्णव
जय।
वृंद की जय, राम राज भक्त वृंद की जय, श्री नित्य गौर प्रेमनंद हरि हरि बोल।
ये हरि हरि बोल। जय हरे कृष्ण। Thank you so much. Hari Bol.